Okay, students, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Yes, yesterday we started with the oogenesis process, right? So, in oogenesis process, again we have the three phases as we discussed in spermatogenesis. The first one is going to be multiplication phase, the second one is growth phase, and third one is maturation phase, right? So, yesterday we discussed about the multiplication phase. So, multiplication phase, I'll give you a recall and then I'll continue with the growth phase. Multiplication phase, I told you this phase completely it occurs before the birth itself. That is when it is in the fetus stage. From the beginning to the end, the complete phase will be over in the before birth itself. And here also the primordial germ cells will be present. The primordial germ cells, first they will arise from the embryonic mesoderm, then via yolk sac it will reaches the ovary. After reaching the ovary, it will divide by mitotic division, yes, and form a large number of oogonia. And these oogonia will be surrounded by follicular cells which are derived from the germinal epithelium of the ovary. And the follicular cells, they keep on multiplying inside the ovary and the size of the ovarian follicle increases. Ovarian follicle means the ovary along with follicle is called as, the oogonia along with the follicles is said to be the ovarian follicle, okay. Now we can go to the growth phase, students. I think multiplication phase, all of you clear. Yes. So we can move on to the growth phase. Already I told you this growth phase is the longest phase in the oogenesis process. Okay. And this phase, no, it occurs for so many years. It is not like in spermatogenesis. It will not occur within few minutes or few days. It will take place for few years. And this growth phase is the longest phase in the female oogenesis. So the second one what we are going to discuss is the growth phase. Please put down the heading growth phase. So please listen carefully because so many things are there in the growth phase. It will be very difficult to understand. So the first thing is the growth phase. No, it begins when it will start. It will begins during the fetal life because already the multiplication phase will start and it will end during the fetus stage itself, right? So soon after the completion of multiplication phase, the growth phase will also start during the fetal life and here and it will end. When it will end? It will end, sorry, not it will end, it will continues. It will continues after birth. It begins during fetal life, right? And it will continues after fetal life. And when it will end, no, it will end just before the, it ends just before the puberty. It ends just before puberty. Just before the attaining of maturity, it will get over. So this growth phase is going to continue for so many years, okay. So this is regarding to the growth phase and this is the, you please write down here, it is the longest phase in the female oogenesis process, okay. Out of the three phases, multiplication, growth and maturation, this growth phase is the longest phase and it begins during the fetal life, continues after birth and ends just before the puberty. Now let us see what are the changes that will take place in the growth phase. So already our oogonia, I told you in the multiplication phase, the oogonia will form and the follicular cells will increase in its size. Okay. Now here the growth phase, the oogonia will increase in its size. Oogonia increase in its size. And as the oogonia increase in size, they are now known as primary oocytes. When the oogonia increase in its size, they are called as primary oocytes. As we had primary spermatocytes, here it is called as primary oocytes. And the number of primary oocytes will be constant at birth. Okay. The number of primary oocytes at birth, it will, a number of primary oocytes at birth, no, it remains the same throughout the life. It will never increase. After that, the number of oocyte after birth, no, it will never increase. It will be the same. That's what I told you in the starting itself. In the female reproductive system, I told you the number of primary oocytes will never add up or increase after the birth. Okay. So whatever the number of primary oocyte at the birth of the female child, it remains the same throughout the life. Okay. Right. Now, the growth phase, I told you, after birth, it continues up to puberty, and the number of follicles left at this stage. Okay. At the time of birth, at the time of birth, the number of follicles, the follicular cells, the follicular cells will be present surrounding the oocyte, right? So the number at the time of birth, the number of follicular cells or number of follicles ranges from 3 to 4 lakhs. At the time of birth, the follicular cells, it ranges from, the number of follicular cells ranges from 3 to 4 lakhs. So you just copy this. I'll continue in the next slide. Hey students, have you all copied up to this? See, the number of primary oocytes will never increase after the birth. Okay. But the number of follicular cells, no, it will start decreasing. That's what I told you. The follicular cells will slowly degenerate after the birth. So at the time of birth, the number of follicular cells surrounding the oocytes will be approximately of 3 to 4 lakhs. Please let me know if you have copied the notes so that I can move on to the next slide. Yes, finish writing. Okay, fine. Now, please continue this growth phase. I told you the growth phase continues up to puberty. Growth phase continues up to puberty. Already I told you this, right? That is just to the onset of puberty. Up to this, the growth phase will be done. And the number of follicles left at this particular stage, okay? The number of follicles left at this particular stage will be slowly reduced, and finally it will reach us the count, the number of follicles finally after the disintegration, finally it reaches the count of about 60,000 to 80,000. Reaches the count of from 3 lakhs to 4 lakhs. Finally, it will reaches the count of about 60,000 to 80,000. The remaining follicular cells, what will happen? The rest of the follicular cells will degenerate. Okay. The rest of the follicles or follicular cells start degenerating after the birth. So from the birth till puberty, the follicular cells will undergo degeneration. Degeneration means slowly it will undergo disappearance or disintegration. So the only, see, I told you in the starting at the time of birth, the follicular cells will be 3 to 4 lakhs. Then slowly it will come to lakhs. And slowly it will keep on reducing, keep on disintegrating. Okay. And finally, at the time of puberty, the number of follicles will reach the amount or count of about 60,000 to 80,000. And rest of the follicular cells, what will happen to the rest of the follicles? So the rest of the follicles will start degenerating. This degeneration of follicular cells is called by a process called as follicular atresia. Follicular atresia. Follicular atresia, this process represents degeneration of follicular cells. The degeneration of follicles can be called by a process called as follicular atresia. Okay. So where do these follicular cells, how it will degenerate? The degeneration occurs by the ovarian follicles are degenerated or disposed of. The ovarian follicles which has been degenerated, no, those follicular cells are disposed. Disposed means they will be cleared from the ovary. They will not remain in the ovary itself. Okay, they will be cleared from the ovary or disposed of by means of a process called as phagocytosis. Phagocytic cells, no, they will engulf these degenerated follicular cells by means of this phagocytosis process. And now I told you some of the follicular cells will degenerate, and the process is called as follicular atresia. Okay, and the follicular cells that has been degenerated are disposed of by phagocytosis process, and some group of cells, all the follicular cells will not get degenerated, right? The remaining cells, no, some group of cells in the ovarian stroma. I told you what is ovarian stroma region. That is the interior of the ovary, that is in the connective tissue of the ovary, that is in the ovarian stroma. Some group of cells, no, around the follicles become active. Some group of cells in the ovarian stroma around the follicles become active. And these cells, those cells which are present around the follicles which are active, no, those cells are called as interstitial cells. As you had interstitial cells in the male, I told you, no, Leydig cells or interstitial cells. Like similarly, you have some interstitial cells in the ovary, that is in the ovarian stroma region. Some group of cells will be there around the follicular cells which are said to be active, and those cells are called as interstitial cells, and these cells, they secrete a small amount of androgen. These interstitial cells are responsible for secreting a small amount of androgen. So you can say how androgen will be secreted in the female reproductive system. Yes, androgen secretion will be there a small amount in the female reproductive system. Only when these androgen secretion is more, sometimes the female will have the appearance of mustache, hair will be grown in the upper lip, chin, and also in the face, and also excess hair growth will be there in the hands and legs. All these are because of the excessive secretion of these androgen or testosterone, which is being secreted in a small amount in the ovary by this interstitial cells. Who are these interstitial cells? These cells are the group of cells which are present in the ovarian stroma around the follicles, which become active, and they will secrete this androgen hormone. Okay, up to this, is it clear? I will show you the second slide. You just copy all the points in the second slide. Whatever things we are seeing now, Noma, all will happen during the growth phase of the oogenesis. Okay, we are discussing the growth phase, and growth phase is the longest phase where so many changes or events will occur, and we are seeing one by one. Please note down everything. So this is slide 1. This is slide 2. This is slide 3. Okay, now students, before going to the next point, I will show you one diagram. Using the diagram, I will tell you. Okay, see, first initially, this is your primary oocyte. Let it be primary oocyte, and inside that nucleus will be there, and cytoplasm will be there. Okay, so this is your primary oocyte, and now surrounding this primary oocyte, you know, numerous follicular cells will be present. Yes, I will draw the follicular cells. This is initially at the time of birth. This is at the time of birth, students. Your primary oocyte will be there, and surrounding the primary oocyte, some 3 to 4 lakhs of follicular cells will be present. Okay, so you just mark this. This is primary oocyte. All these are follicular cells. Follicles, this is at the time of birth. Now, after the disintegration, I told you, no, some of the follicular cells will get disintegrate after the birth, and slowly this follicular atresia, that is the disintegration of follicular cells, are called as follicular atresia. After this follicular atresia, now I will show you how it will appear. Again, you draw this primary oocyte, and inside that nucleus, and then cytoplasmic region. Okay. Now the follicular cells which has been disintegrated, no, it will form a gap. I will show you how. Some follicular cells which are very close to the ovary will remain. Okay. From one side, it will so you can see the follicular cells, some of the follicular cells have been disintegrated in the center. Okay, now see students, the entire follicular cells present after birth is not present here. Why? Because some of the follicular cells in the gap, no, there is one small gap here. This gap is actually because of the disintegration of the follicular cells. Okay, so the follicular cells, you know, it multiply by mitotic division and it will form several layers. I told you the follicular cells will keep on increasing in its size. The development of this cavity among the follicular cells, no, it differentiates the inner follicular layer and the outer follicular layer. So this gap is, no, this is called as the gap is called as follicular antrum or follicular cavity. So this is called as follicular cavity. How this cavity has been formed? This cavity has been formed because of the disintegration of follicular cells. Because of follicular atresia, one cavity will be formed, and this cavity is exactly called as follicular antrum. The cavity is called as follicular antrum. Okay. So this cavity will be formed among the follicular cells because of the disintegration of some of the follicular cells. So the disintegration of follicular cells, that is called as follicular atresia. The disintegration of follicles will form this cavity. The disintegration of follicles will form the cavity. Wherever the follicular cells have been disintegrated, there a cavity will be formed, and that cavity is called as follicular cavity, which is said to be exactly called as follicular antrum. And this follicular antrum or cavity, it will be filled with, it is filled with the fluid. So there will be a fluid secreted in the follicular antrum by this follicular cells. So the follicular cells which are present surrounding and inside, no, these two layers of follicular cells, they will secrete a fluid, and the antrum or cavity will be filled with the fluid. This cavity will be filled with the fluid, and the fluid is having a name which is called as liquor folliculi. The fluid which is filled in this cavity is called as liquor folliculi. Liquor folliculi is the fluid that is filled in this. I will just show you in white color. So this white color, no, this is called as the liquor folliculi, which is filled inside this cavity. So this is called, this white color fluid is called as the liquor folliculi. So this fluid is actually secreted by the follicular cells which are present in the outer and in the inner layer. And this cavity, it will separate the entire follicular cells and differentiate them into two layers. One is the inner follicular layer. This is the inner follicular layer. And outside there is another layer that is called as the outer follicular layer. Now the cavity, no, the follicular antrum that has been formed, this cavity has separated the follicular layer into two layers. One is the inner follicular layer, another one is the outer follicular layer. Okay. Now the two follicular layers remain connected through a stalk or pedicel. You can see this is the inner one and this is the outer one. In between the inner and outer, there is a small stalk-like connection, right? And this is called as pedicel. The connection which connects the inner and outer follicular layer is called as the pedicel. Pedicel of the follicular cells. Now the outer follicular layer is having a name. I will write in the next slide. You just copy it up to this, students. Up to this, are you clear? The follicular cells which are present surrounding the primary oocyte, after the birth, these follicular cells will start disintegrating. How they will disintegrate? They will disintegrate by means of phagocytosis process and it will be disposed of from the ovary. And after this disintegration, there will be a cavity formed wherever the follicular cells have disintegrated, and that cavity is called as follicular antrum, which is filled with the fluid called as liquor folliculi. Now this follicular antrum will separate the follicular into inner and outer follicular layer. The inner one and outer one are connected by a small, no, it will not connected throughout. Only in one particular place they will be connected, and that connection is called as pedicel. Now this outer and inner follicular layer are having a name and they are having specific role. I will tell you now. You please write down. The outer follicular layer is called as the outer follicular layer is called by the term, it is having a name called as stratum granulosum. The outer follicular layer is called as stratum granulosum. I have marked it here, which is outer. This is the outer. Okay, this outer covering. Can you see? This is the outer follicular layer and that is called as stratum granulosum. Later, this stratum granulosum will become a layer called as theca interna. This stratum granulosum will later form as theca interna. Okay. And this outer, that is the outer follicular layer, consists of some follicular cells, no? And those cells, the cells, follicular cells present in the outer follicular layer, the follicular cells which are present in this layer, they secrete estrogen hormone. They are the one which are responsible for secreting this estrogen. So the follicular cells present in the outer follicular layer stratum granulosum, they secrete the estrogen during the follicular phase of menstrual cycle. You know about follicular phase of menstrual cycle, we will study under menstrual cycle concept. You just write here, these cells are the one which secretes the estrogen hormone during the follicular phase of the menstrual cycle. Okay, now inner follicular layer is there, right? So what is the name of the inner follicular layer? I told you about the outer follicular layer. Now what is the name of the inner follicular layer? This inner follicular layer is called as cumulus. Inner follicular layer is called as cumulus. Which is directly surrounding this. The cumulus is the one which surrounds the primary oocyte now. That is the layer which directly surrounds the primary oocyte. Fine, up to this clear. Now just get back to the diagram. You just get back to the diagram. This is actually primary oocyte. Okay, the inner one, primary oocyte, you know very well. This is the primary oocyte which is having a plasma membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm, everything. Now please look at this diagram. This plasma, this one, I will again draw this. What I am drawing, this is the plasma membrane of the primary oocyte. Okay. Now outside this plasma membrane of primary oocyte, there will be another membrane formation that occurs, and that will be between the primary oocyte and the inner follicular layer. You know, this is inner follicular layer, and between this plasma membrane and inner follicular layer, I will draw in different color. I am drawing in green color. You just see I am drawing one green color layer surrounding the plasma membrane of this oocyte. Okay. And outer to the plasma membrane, that is between plasma membrane and inner follicular layer, a new membrane will arise. And this membrane, no, this green color membrane, this green color membrane is called as vitelline membrane. It is called as vitelline membrane. Now, where do this vitelline membrane forms? This vitelline membrane will be formed between the plasma membrane of the primary oocyte and the inner follicular layer. Inner follicular layer, you know, it is called as cumulus. Okay. So, now please write on the next change event that is going to take place is a membrane called as vitelline membrane. Vitelline membrane. Have you all copied the fourth slide? You just copy the fourth slide, then I will tell you about that membrane. Yes. So now the membrane which is formed, new membrane that will form called as the vitelline membrane. This vitelline membrane surrounds the plasma membrane of the primary oocyte. It surrounds the plasma membrane of primary oocyte. And this vitelline membrane will be formed, it will be formed in between, formed between the plasma membrane and the inner follicular layer. So in between the inner follicular layer and the plasma membrane, this new membrane will form, and that is called as vitelline membrane. Okay. Now this vitelline membrane, I told you, no, in mammals, this vitelline membrane is having a name. So this vitelline membrane in mammals is called as, you just write down the name. In other organisms, it will be called as vitelline membrane. But in mammals, it is called by a term. In mammals, the vitelline membrane is called as zona pellucida. It is called as zona pellucida layer. So this zona pellucida, DA, okay. So zona pellucida is nothing but this green color membrane what I draw, okay. So I will write in bracket, this is the zona pellucida. Zona pellucida. In mammals, you will call this vitelline membrane as zona pellucida layer. Okay. Now, what about this zona pellucida? What is this zona pellucida layer? I will tell you about this zona pellucida layer. So, this zona pellucida, what is the nature of this layer? This zona pellucida, no, it is a transparent membrane. Okay, I will clearly tell you. If you boil egg, when you are eating boiled egg, no, after boiling the egg, you will remove the shell. When you are removing the shell, you can see one small, transparent, very thin, delicate membrane will be there at the back side of the shell. When you open the shell, this membrane will be attached with the egg white. You know, that is called as the vitelline membrane. Okay, so that is the vitelline membrane, and this vitelline membrane will be formed in the primary oocyte of your mammals, that is in human also. So this zona pellucida is considered to be a transparent membrane, and very, very important, it is a non-cellular membrane. Non-cellular means it is not made up of cells. Then what it is made up of? It is not made up of cells, okay. Then it is made up of, or it is composed of, glycoproteins. It is composed of glycoproteins. Okay. Now, there will be a small space between the plasma membrane and the vitelline membrane. You see the diagram. You can see some small space in between, no? In between this red color and pink color, a small space is there. I am shading with blue color. So this small space which is present in between this plasma membrane and zona pellucida or vitelline membrane, the space between plasma membrane and vitelline membrane, also called as zona pellucida. Zona pellucida, that space is called as perivitelline space. The space is called as perivitelline space. There will be a small space between the plasma membrane and zona pellucida layer or vitelline membrane layer, and that space is called as perivitelline space. You just copy this. I will wait. I want to show the diagram. See the diagram. Please write everything in the fifth slide, ma. Finish writing? All of you finish writing, students? Okay, now let's continue. Yes, still your growth phase is not over. Now the next thing, what will happen? See, so far what we discussed is whatever changes that happened outside the primary oocyte. Okay, now we are going to see the changes that will take place inside the oocyte. So inside the oocyte, what are the things that will occur is, the first one, the size of the nucleus. The size of the nucleus and the amount of cytoplasm both will increase. The size of the nucleus and the amount of cytoplasm both will increase. Both will increases. Okay. Both the nuclear content and the cytoplasmic content will increase inside the primary oocyte. Okay. And the nucleus during the growth phase, no, it will be very, very big. So the nucleus which will become very big, no, in the growth phase, and this big nucleus which becomes very big, and that is named as germinal vesicle. The nucleus that has become very big during this growth phase, of this oogenesis, and that nucleus which has become very big, that is called as germinal vesicle. And the next thing, what will happen inside the primary oocyte, the preparation for meiosis will begin. The preparations, because in the next phase, maturation phase, meiosis is going to take place, right? For this, preparation for meiosis begins during the growth phase. Preparation for meiosis will start beginning during this growth phase. And in this growth phase, the chromosomes for the longest duration remain in the diploidine stage. The chromosomes for the longest duration. Already in cell cycle and cell division, you would have studied about diploidine stage. Okay. So the chromosomes for the longest duration remain in diploidine stage in the primary oocyte. And next, what else happens inside the nucleus? Due to uncoiling of DNA, transverse loops will develop, and the chromosome are called as Lamb-Brush chromosomes. So due to uncoiling of DNA, you know, DNA will be a coiled structure, but due to uncoiling of DNA, transverse loops will develop in the chromosomes. Transverse loops develop in the chromosomes, and that chromosomes are now called as, those chromosomes are called as Lamb-Brush chromosomes. You would have studied about Lamb-Brush chromosomes in cell lesson. These are said to be some gigantic chromosomes, Lamb-Brush chromosomes and polyethylene chromosomes. Do you remember? So those Lamb-Brush chromosomes will develop during this period because of the formation of transverse loops due to uncoiling of DNA. Okay. And during this uncoiling, large number of RNAs will be synthesized. Large amount of RNA synthesis also occurs. Large amount of RNA synthesis takes place during this formation of Lamb-Rush chromosome. Okay. Copy this slide. Finish. Yeah, still you have to continue. The last thing, there is one more process called as vitellogenesis that takes place. So what is meant by vitellogenesis? Vitellogenesis means, genesis is formation or synthesis. So synthesis of yolk. Synthesis of yolk in vertebrates occurs during this phase. Okay. And in most of the vertebrates, no, the yolk will be first synthesized in the first yolk synthesis start in the liver. And then it will reaches the, its synthesis start in the liver and then it reaches the primary oocyte through the blood and follicular cells. Through blood and follicular cells, finally it will reaches the primary oocyte. The yolk synthesis will take place during the growth phase. Synthesis of yolk is called as vitellogenesis process, and synthesis of yolk first occurs in the liver. Then it will reaches the primary oocyte through the blood and follicular cells. That's all. Your growth phase is completed with this. See students, up to this, it is in the form of, up to the completion of growth phase, it is in the form of primary oocyte. It will not develop into secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte will be developed only in the maturation phase. Up to this, it is in the stage of primary oocyte and surrounded by many follicular cells, which we call it as primary follicular cells. Okay. Yes, I want to show the sixth slide. You just copy the sixth one. If anyone like have left over the points, you please copy the sixth one. Fourth, fifth, what you were doing when I was showing this fourth and fifth slide, students. So this is the fourth slide. This is the fourth one. This is third one. This is third slide. I am showing you from the third slide, ma. Please copy down everything. Then we can move on to the maturation phase. Growth phase is over. Okay. So please get to know all the changes or events that is taking place during the growth phase, both in follicular cell and also inside the primary oocyte. Okay. Surrounding the follicular cells also, so many things will happen. Like the follicular degeneration will happen, which we call it as follicular atresia. Then follicular antrum will develop, and in the antrum the liquid will be filled. Okay, all these are changes, and the follicular antrum will divide the follicular layer into two layers. One is the outer layer and another one is the inner layer. Okay, and now vitelline membrane outer to this follicular cells, that is in the outside to the primary oocyte, between the plasma membrane and inner follicular layer another membrane will be formed, which we call it as vitelline membrane. That membrane is called as the zona pellucida layer in mammals. This is a transparent and non-cellular layer, but it is composed of glycoprotein. Okay. And now coming to the primary oocyte, what are the changes that will happen? The nucleus will become bigger in size and amount of cytoplasm also increases. The bigger size of nucleus is called as the germinal vesicle. And then the preparation for meiosis also begins here. Chromosomes for the longest duration remain in diploid stage. Due to uncoiling of DNA, transverse loops will develop that will lead to the formation of Lamb-Rush chromosome. And during this formation of Lamb-Rush chromosomes, large amount of RNA synthesis will take place. And vitellogenesis, synthesis of yolk, will also occur during the growth phase. The yolk will first synthesized in the liver, and then through blood and follicular cells, it will reaches the primary oocyte. Okay. Yeah, students, now we can move on to the last phase of your oogenesis process, that is the maturation phase. The last phase or the third phase of your oogenesis is maturation phase. So now what will happen in your maturation phase? So during this stage, the germinal vesicle, just now I told you what is germinal vesicle. The enlarged nucleus is called as germinal vesicle. Now this germinal vesicle will loses its nuclear sap. It will loses the nuclear sap. That is the nucleoplasm content. Okay, nuclear sap, and also it will loses all the RNAs. All the RNAs will be lost and nuclear sap will be lost. Why it is losing all these? To become smaller and compact. To become smaller and compact, it will loses all its nuclear sap and its RNA, and this diploid nucleus, now it will move towards the periphery. Now the diploid nucleus, after becoming smaller, the diploid nucleus, because till primary oocyte no meiosis, so it will be in the form of diploid state. Okay, so the diploid nucleus, now it will move towards the periphery. From center it will move towards the corner, and that is called as the periphery. It will move towards the periphery, and the first part of the meiosis begins. Now meiosis 1 will start. Meiosis 1 begins now. After the nucleus moving towards the periphery region, the meiosis 1 will start. You know, meiosis 1 is the reduction division and meiosis 2 is the equational division. So the reduction division will start. And this division in meiosis 1, which is taking place in oogenesis, it is an unequal division. Unequal division means it will not produce same size or similar daughter cells, and this unequal division of meiosis 1 will result in two cells, two daughter cells, right? And out of them, one will be very smaller cell, one smaller cell and one larger cell will be formed. The smaller cell is called as the polar body, and this is the first polar body. The smaller cell is called as the first polar body. It is named as polocyte. The polar body is called as the polocyte, and this polar body, it will be released into the perivitelline space. Okay, you know what is perivitelline space? I told you the space between plasma membrane and the inner follicular, sorry, you just see this, the perivitelline space, blue color, in between this plasma membrane and the zona pellucida layer, right? Vitelline membrane, there is a small space, right? And this polar body will be released into the perivitelline space because this polar body is sterile. It is not functional. It will be released into the perivitelline space. And the larger cell, this larger cell is what we call it as the inner one. The smaller cell will be outer. It will be moved to the outer perivitelline space. And the inner larger cell, this inner larger cell, this is having all the reserve food material, and this is what we call it as the secondary oocyte. Only one secondary oocyte will be formed from the primary oocyte. Okay, the primary oocyte, now it will undergo meiosis 1 and it will form unequal cells. One will be smaller cell which will be present in the outer region, that is the polar body, which is sterile, and it will be released into the perivitelline space because of no function. And the larger cell which is present in the inner one, this is called as the secondary oocyte. Now this secondary oocyte, it is having all reserve food material. All reserve food material. Okay, both the secondary oocyte and the polar body, both will be haploid structures. You can write here. Both this polar body is also haploid and the secondary oocyte is also haploid because it has undergone reduction division, meiosis 1. So meiosis 1 is a reduction division. It will convert diploid cells into haploid. So both secondary oocyte and polar body are haploid structures. Now this secondary oocyte, it is this secondary oocyte which is released during the ovulation of the menstrual cycle. This secondary oocyte will be released during the ovulation of menstrual cycle process. How it will be released? Okay, now when the secondary oocyte is formed, the cells surrounding the secondary oocyte will be secondary follicle. And the secondary follicle, you know, the cells which are surrounding the oocyte, first it will be primary follicles. Then later, after the formation of secondary oocyte, they will turn into secondary follicles. then it will change into tertiary follicle, and finally it will develop into Graafian follicle. And finally the matured one is called as Graafian follicles. Once the Graafian follicles mature, these Graafian follicles will rupture. When they rupture, the ovulation process will occur. That is, what is ovulation? The release of secondary oocyte from ovary to the fallopian tube is called as ovulation. So finally the ovulation will occur. Okay. Now students, you please note down one point. Only the meiosis 1 has completed. Meiosis 2 has not yet started. Now when do this meiosis 2 will occur? In ovulation, what will happen? The release of, during this ovulation, the release of secondary oocyte from ovary to the fallopian tube will occur. The oocyte will come from the ovary to the fallopian tube, and you know the fallopian tube, there will be fimbriae, finger-like projections. It will capture the secondary oocyte, and the secondary oocyte will pass into the fallopian tube, and there it will enter into the fallopian tube, and it will reach us in the ampulla region. And there in the ampulla region, it will wait for the entry of the sperm. Okay. Now I will tell you when do the second part of the meiosis will occur. So the second part of the meiosis, that is meiosis 2. The meiosis 2 is called as the equational cell division. It is not reductional. It is similar to mitosis. Okay. So this meiosis 2, it will take place only after the contact of the sperm. After the contact of sperm with the egg, after that is not egg, with the secondary oocyte. Okay. So meiosis 2 will occur only after the contact with the sperm, after the contact of the sperm. Now once when the sperm enters, right, the nucleus, when sperm enters, when sperm contact occurs, now what will happen? This nucleus of secondary oocyte, the nucleus of secondary, unless the secondary meiosis 2 will never occur. Only when the sperm contact is there, the nucleus of secondary oocyte divides again. It will divide again to form the second polar body, and here also the division will be unequal. Now it will form the second polar body, and one more thing, and the secondary oocyte will form another bigger one that is called as the ooted. Okay. Now the second polar body and ooted will be formed. Again the second polar body will be smaller and the ooted will be larger. Now just now the meiotic division has been over. So after the contact of the sperm, the nucleus of the secondary oocyte, it will divide again, that is meiosis 2, to form the second polar body and ooted. The second polar body will be smaller and the ooted will be larger. Okay. As there is no metamorphosis in ooted, this ooted is later called as the egg or ovum, because ovum is not, ooted is not going to undergo any metamorphosis. So ooted, egg, ovum, all are going to be same. Meanwhile, when this process is taking place, the first polar body that has been released to the perivitelline space, no, I told you here, you remember? You just go back to the slide. I told you the first polar body will be released in the perivitelline space. Meanwhile, when this meiotic division is taking place, the first polar body may also divide. The first polar body which is released into the perivitelline space, this will also divide, and it will result in the formation of two polar bodies, and both the two polar bodies will be non-functional or sterile. Both these two polar body, this polar body, everything will be non-functional or sterile. So the maximum number of polar bodies present within the ovum are here 2 and here 1. So totally 3 polar bodies. So you write that point also. The maximum number of polar bodies, present within the ovum. Maximum number of polar bodies present within the ovum can be 3. 3 polar bodies. Okay, right? And human ovum, besides having 2 to 3 polar bodies, also has a covering of zona pellucida and corona radiata, and the later is the innermost layer of cumulus. Okay, so human ovum, finally, the human ovum consists of what are the layers? So besides having 3 polar bodies, in addition to that, they will be having separate layers. Besides having 3 polar bodies, human ovum consists of the covering. What are the covering that will be present? Okay, the coverings are, one is zona pellucida covering, and then corona radiata. I will show you in the diagram, students, now. Corona radiata covering, and the later is this corona radiata, yes, zona pellucida and corona radiata. Zona pellucida, you know, this is the vitelline membrane. Vitelline membrane is called as the zona pellucida layer. And what is this corona radiata? This corona radiata is nothing but the inner follicular layer. The inner follicular layer, you call it as cumulus, right? Thus, that cumulus layer is now called as corona radiata. Inner follicular layer cumulus is now called as corona radiata. So two coverings will be present in the surrounding the human ovum. One is zona pellucida layer, vitelline membrane layer, and that one is inner follicular layer, which we call it as corona radiata layer. That's all. Your maturation phase is also over with this. Okay. Now I'll show you the slides. Polar bodies do not have any function, ma. So somebody has asked me, what is the function of polar body? Polar body do not have any function, but they are non-functional. Ma, all these things will happen after what? One student is asking whether these changes will happen during the fetus. I told you after birth I started. After birth I started, right? Where I started. Continues up to puberty. From this everything will take place after your birth. After the birth. Okay. Not before the fetus. That is not before birth. That is not during the fetus stage. Right? So from where you have to copy, no, from 6th slide I will show you. This is the 6th slide. From 6th slide I will show you again. This is 7th one, where your growth phase got over. Okay. And this maturation phase, everything, no, this maturation phase will occur just before the onset of puberty. Just before onset of puberty. So from here the maturation phase starts. So this is 8th slide. No. If the polar body number increases, it will not affect the ovum. Why it should increase? Only in one, see, if one complete meiosis takes place, 3 polar body and 1 motile will be formed. This is the usual count. Okay. So number of polar body will not increase beyond 3. Right? This is 9th one. This is 9th one more. Have you copied the 9th slide? Shall I show you the 10th one? This is 10th slide. This is 10th one. And this is 11th one. So your oogenesis process is also over. Now, students, I will give you one flow chart. It will be easy for you to understand the complete process of spermatogenesis and oogenesis. You just copy that. You just copy this. So the complete process of spermatogenesis and oogenesis, I will give you, consolidate and give you in a flowchart. Okay. It will be easy for you to have a perfect understanding. So first I will draw the flowchart for spermatogenesis. You please draw this spermatogenesis flowchart. So the first one is primordial germ cell. Primordial germ cells. Okay. So these primordial germ cells are diploid. Okay. And it will undergo mitotic cell division. So this mitosis will form spermatogonia. And the spermatogonia is also diploid. And the spermatogonia, it will undergo growth. And it will form primary primary spermatocytes. And this is also diploid. And this primary spermatocyte will undergo meiosis 1. Under meiosis 1, it will produce 2 secondary spermatocytes. In one meiosis, it will produce 2 secondary spermatocyte, right? Here also secondary spermatocyte. And here these 2 secondary spermatocytes are haploid. And each of these 2 secondary spermatocytes will produce 1, 2, 3, 4. Haploid, 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 haploid. All these are spermatids. All these haploids are spermatids. Finally, this is the spermatid. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 spermatids will be formed on the whole. Okay. This is also spermatid. This is also spermatid. This is also spermatid. So from one spermatogonia, you will have like 4 spermatids will be formed. Okay. And this phase, no, this is multiplication phase. This is multiplication phase. And this is growth phase. And from primary spermatocyte to spermatid, this entire thing, no. This is maturation phase. This is maturation phase. Okay. Till the formation of spermatid. From primary spermatocyte to spermatid, it is called as maturation phase. So this is for your spermatogenesis. Then I will give you one flow chart for oogenesis. Finished this flow chart? Have you all copied this one? How 3 polar bodies are, wait, now in the flow chart you will get to know how 3 polar bodies are formed. Now draw this flow chart for oogenesis. Now for oogenesis also I will draw. So first start with primordial germ cell, which is diploid, and after undergoing mitosis, it will form oogonia, which is diploid. Now this oogonia will develop, it will grow, it will undergo growth, and this will develop primary oocyte, and this is also diploid, and this step is called as multiplication phase. This will undergo before birth itself. Okay. And this primary oocyte, now it will undergo meiosis 1. In meiosis 1, it will produce 1 bigger cell, and that is called as secondary oocyte, and one smaller cell that is called as the first polar body. Okay, first polar body. Now this secondary oocyte, it will undergo meiosis 2. It will undergo meiosis 2. And in meiosis 2, again it will produces one polar body and ooted. Right, this is ooted and this is one more polar body produced by the secondary oocyte. And this first polar body, it will also undergo meiosis 2. And it will produces two polar bodies. Polar body, and here also one polar body. This polar body will produce two polar bodies. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, totally 3 polar bodies. Got it? So here two polar bodies, and this is the second polar body that is formed by the secondary oocyte. So 1, 2, 3, totally 3 polar bodies and one ooted. And all these polar body ooted, all are haploid. Okay. Now this oogonia to primary oocyte, this is growth phase. And many changes will take place in the growth phase. And this primary oocyte, it will undergo growth continuous, and meiosis 1 and 2, this is called as the maturation phase. And this stage is the maturation phase. Primary oocyte to secondary oocyte to polar bodies, ooted, everything comes under second, that is maturation phase, right? And up to this, from this to this, it will take place during the fetal life. By the time of birth, the female baby will have primary oocyte. And after this primary oocyte, the growth phase will continue till puberty, and it will change. So many changes will occur, and then after entering into maturation phase, this primary oocyte will undergo meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And meiosis 2 will occur only after the entry of sperm. Okay. Now got it? Tertiary oocyte. Where is tertiary oocyte? Where is tertiary oocyte here? One student is asking, sperm fuses with secondary oocyte or tertiary oocyte. Where is tertiary oocyte? First tell me which one is tertiary oocyte. It is not, ooted is not called as tertiary oocyte. Ooted is called as egg or ova. Sperm will fuses with only with ooted, not with secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte is just meiosis 1. Only when it undergo meiosis 2 and forms this ooted, this sperm can fuse. You will get to know in fertilization process. You will study fertilization, no, there you will get to know where sperm will fuse. Okay, that's all. Fine. So now, yes, I will show you all the slides from the beginning fastly, ma. Thambi. See, I didn't say when sperm fuses with secondary oocyte. Please note the point properly. When sperm come in contact with secondary oocyte, not fuses. Fuses is different from in contact. Contact means when it is just trying to enter into the, that is when the sperms are released in the female reproductive tract, the sperms will move towards the secondary oocyte, okay? And when it reaches the secondary oocyte, when it comes in contact, when it comes in contact means when it touches the secondary oocyte, the meiosis 2 will occur and it will forms the oocyte. When the sperm enters into that, the oocyte will be there to fuse with them and not the secondary oocyte. Okay. When the sperm comes in contact with the secondary oocyte, the meiosis 2 will get completed and oocyte will be formed, and the nucleus of the sperm and nucleus of oocyte or egg or ovum will fuse together to form the zygote. Got it? Ganesh, got it? Please change the word. It is not fusing. It is for when it is in contact. I wrote as contact, not I didn't write as fusion. Okay, students, fine. So we'll wind up the class. Tomorrow we can discuss about the menstrual cycle. Okay. So menstrual cycle and role of hormones are there. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow I will complete that. Fine. Thank you so much.